You're on.
Okay, so now we're going on to our second video. This is not really live, but we're doing it so you think it is. Um, because we've been having Wi-Fi troubles in my sewing studio. So it's very insular in here. I think sometimes you could have a little nuclear war, and I'm just going to hide in my sewing room and I won't know anything that's going on outside in the world. But it's also really good for peace and quiet. So, okay, so we're going to do the pot holder now. And again, we're looking at gifts, quick and easy gifts that are tailored to, your hostess with the mostess, or your great aunt. They're usable. Everything that we're doing obviously is usable. It's practical, but we're going to make it pretty, and you're going to tailor it to whoever you want to give it to. So in this case, we have the new Patrick Lose fabric in Christmas, and it's done in the really funky wee pups. It's really kind of cute. I love the polka dots and the stripes that's with it. We do have it on the website, but that's a Patrick Lose line. And so you just to give you an idea, so you want to do something like that for a dog lover for Christmas, but maybe you don't want to do Christmas. So you've got a girlfriend that does the cows, or she loves cows and collects them, or something like that. We've got this one. I love this cow fabric, actually. It's really neat. So we've just done one in this particular one. Then we have this line from Figo, which is an offshoot. It's a contemporary version of Northcott. It's the not contemporary version of, it's their division of Northcott that is very contemporary looking. And so this is done in kind of like a seashore kind of feeling. So somebody's got a nice either Florida home or something like that, or a beach home, then that would be the way to go. So we've got those guys. Without the dust bunnies, no dust bunnies included. Don't give people dust bunnies. We did these in blue and whites a while ago. Kind of ageless. You've got people that love a certain color. I'm just trying to, there we go, take these apart. We like to alternate the fabrics so they look really, I don't know, they look far more interesting when they're a little different from each other, but still using the same coordinating fabrics. So we did those in the blue. And we have this one. This was one of my favorite lines that come in, because I'm not a coffee girl, but I do love my hot chocolate and my tea. And this was a line that has chocolate covered spoons and marshmallows all over it, and the jars with the hot chocolate and the candy canes and everything. There's actually a line from last year. There's little bits left in it, enough to do the fat quarters, and you can see we've used a great stripe on the border of this, so on your binding rather. We did this in Chanterelle, which was Wilmington, and Northcott did a very similar line in this. So again, could be about color for your girlfriend. Or maybe she loves magnolias like I do. I only buy stuff that my flowers, my magnolias, and my sunflowers, and my poppies. And again, I really love when you can use your binding, when you can do a stripe for your binding. You'll see we tend to stick to that quite a bit. We like to use the stripes for our bindings. And then we did one of this year's Christmas lines. This is actually just the Hey It's Christmas, but we used the plaid in the line to give you that. It definitely has an old-fashioned feeling, Christmas, and using the stripe as your binding again, which is pretty neat. So we brought you in some of those to show you. Hi, Knucklehead. How's my little whoopers? Hi. How's my little whoopers? Yeah. So, and we did, I'll show you the picture too that's on our kits. So there's a picture on the front of our kits. It's mostly black and white, but just to give you an idea, we did the one there in the kitchen utensils, and the other one was just actually really kind words and that sort of thing. So you can do whatever I'm getting a wash. I did shower. Yes. Again, so we do this up. We do our pot holders kits up. They hold enough they are enough of the thermal fleece and bat to do a set. We do not include fabric. That's your choice. It's one of the reasons why we started out with our fat quarter special of 6 for $25 and 6 for $28, because it requires 3 fat quarters to do your project. So then if you had the 6, you'd have enough to do 2 sets, and you'd need 2 kits because we do our kits for $4.98 and 2 for $8. So it made a lot more sense. So today, I'm going to put him down. Today we're going to use one of our sewing fabrics because I thought it would be really cool for me to do these for a sewing buddy, right? Because what better gift would it be? Again, if you themed it, you could do horses, you could do one for nurses, you could do superhero fabric, you could do, this is a great time. Dive into your stash and see what you can find in some of the themes. Maybe you bought some fabric for a girlfriend because she's a baker or a gardener or whatever, and this is the perfect project. Okay. My nose always runs when we go to do this. So, what you're going to do is you're going to get out your little instructions from your kit, and it gives you your cutting instructions and your sizing. And I have my fabric cut into my proper squares. And one thing you have to remember, or that's handy to remember when you're doing this, is that your cutting doesn't have to be as exact to start out with, simply because you cut it down. So we have given you a bigger size so that when you quilt it, channel quilt it, or you can quilt it however you want, but you're going to be able to cut it down, and then it ends up being exactly the right size that you need. So my instructions tell me that I need how to layer my fabric. So I am going to layer one of my squares right sides down. Then I'm going to take a piece of my Insel Bright, and I'm going to put that on top. And then I'm going to take my batting. Now, you know what's great again about this? These are great offcuts from the top of your quilt that you just finished, and you had that big chunk left over, and it could be, you could use it for a table run or placemats or whatever, but you have some smaller pieces. We actually do this at the store. A lot of our pieces, when we're doing our samples, we use them to make these samples. These are the offcuts from those quilts that Janice or Judy has quilted for us. So now we have our batting on here, and I need my last square, and I'm going to put that on. All right. Now, I've actually done part of this for you, so to make it easier, but at this point, I'm going to take my smaller ruler. Okay, so this ruler here, I don't know if you can see it through there. This is a 3" by 18. And I love this ruler. I keep my rulers right here, and I grab for this one all the time. It's the one that I cut my stuff up into scraps at the end of the project. It's just smaller. It's easier to manage. So I love this ruler. So, what you're going to do is you're going to center it on your work, and with our next handy dandy tool, you're going to get, so a chalk marker or a marker of some sort that you are going to be, so a Frisian pen would work well. Again, where are my Frisian pens? I think I hid them over here. Okay, we have Frisian pens at the store that are great, and they come off with ironing. This here is the Dritz chalk cartridge. It actually, I believe it's around $24.98, and it comes with your package. Those are white in the background, and it comes with all different colors so that you can interchange your pieces depending on the color of your fabric, because you want it to show up, right? So there we go. We've got that going on. And so what we're going to do is we're going to mark the line so we can do what we would call channel quilting. And you're going to mark them on here like so, and then you're going to lay your line, your 1" line, and move over 1 inch. Again, remember, this is not a quilt, it's a pot holder, and yes, we are going for exact and well made, but it's okay if that line is a little thick. It's not really an issue, and you'll see why when I show you. So we're just giving ourselves a line that we can quickly quilt on. And we're going to do that. So I'm not going to show you the whole thing, because that would be silly. But what I am going to do is I'm going to briefly show you why or how. I'm going to sit down on my sewing machine and show you how to do this. So we're going to just move over here. So this step here now is I put some light purpley colored thread in to match my wee buttons. And I've set my machine on a 3.5 because you really don't need your 2.5 or your 2.5 inch stitch length. That's going to cause a lot of puckering. We're working through 4 layers, 2 layers of fabric and 2 layers of bat. So you can actually increase your stitch length a little bit so there's a little less puckering. And we're just going to stitch through that quickly. Run yourself down that line very quickly. Well, I'm doing it quickly. Again, I shouldn't say that because I do stress process. I'm going to lift my needle and I'm going to turn my work and I'm going to come back the other way. And the reason you want to do that is so that your work doesn't start to get warped. If you continue to go from side to side, and if I have my lines on here, I'll show you if I had them all finished. What I would do now, lift that gently, move my thread a little bit, and I would start to go down on this side. So I would work my way across and get all of my sides done, working from the center out. All right, just so happens I actually have it done for you. All right, so there we go. I have it channeled, and that is easy to see. All right, again, don't worry about these threads because we're going to cut them off all at once. Very easy. So you don't need to get all anal and freaked out about the threads this time. Normally we would because we're going to, you'd continue working. But with this particular one, again, this is one of our shortcuts. We don't have to worry about those. We're just going to continue to chain sew. And you can do both pieces at the same time as well as your little piece. Okay, so in your instructions, it does have us do the same thing with this, laying one piece face down. Our no, it does not matter which way your it doesn't matter which way your shiny side is facing. It's really not that relevant. It's just used as a heat protector, so it's not a big deal. And we would lay that down on there as well. Okay, and the same thing, draw your lines on here and go and do this and do all your channel quilting. So you see we have that all done. All right. Okay, so now what we're going to do now that we have that done, we're going to read our instructions, and it says we're going to trim this guy here to 5 by 8. So I'm going to grab my 8.5 inch ruler and I'm going to use it for squaring. And again, see, if you're ever going back into retreats and that sort of thing, they have a great retreat at the farm just down the road from us. Make sure all your tools are labeled. This is from my days of going on retreat. Also, what's a great time, and I don't think I have one under here. I think it's at the start, but if you ever have, now's a good time. If you have a cutting board that has, that's a rotating cutting board, now's a good time for it too. So I'm just going to layer this on here. And, because I've got these, this one's a little bit more particular. It's got my lines going a certain way. I'm actually going to run some of my lines that way and see if I can't cut my 8-inch square out of making sure these go straight across. But most fabric being non-directional, that's not going to be an issue, right? So I've got that cut and I'm going to turn it around. Now I'm just going to square up my corner. And so you can see why I didn't have to go to all the effort of cutting those threads off. Because now everything is cut off. Okay, my scrap bag. There we go. So everything's cut off. And I have my nice 8-inch square. All good. Bob's your Uncle, Fanny's your aunt. This one here, we're going to cut this one down as well to the amount that it says there. So we're going to square it up a little bit. We're going to figure out what looks awful pretty, and I'm going to give myself a corner to work with. There we go. I've got a corner down here to work with that I... Okay, and I need this. Double checking my measurements. There we go. Okay. check twice, not have to swear. Don't check twice. Lots of swearing. Okay. So this one and this one are not. Okay, so now we have these guys all finished. We have our lines on there. In my case, I did chalk. They should come off. You can do them with a damp cloth, or you can just wipe them off with a little bit of agitation. Agitation, that's the thing we're all feeling these days. And now what we're going to do is we are going to... Okay, I don't think I did. No, it's because I cut this to 8. Now we're going to imagine that AJ's a moron, and it's supposed to be 8 by 8, not 8.5. Okay. See, I noticed it. It's okay, I fixed it. Okay, so now we have our 2 pieces ready. In your case, you'll have your 4 pieces ready. And we'll set those aside. And we're going to grab the fabric that we've chosen to use as our binding. I'm going to put my tools away because then I don't have to worry later. I freaking love these things here. My chalk goes in another spot so I can get it when I need it. There we go. Okay, so now I have pre-ironed this, just so you know. And this is my nice... This fabric's going to give it some definition. And I'm going to pull out this ruler. This is called the Shape Cut Plus. I love this ruler. When we first found these rulers, they were introduced to us by a guy that used to come and do our Notions Commotion. I loved him. His name was Mark. And he was adorable. And he would literally do all this stuff. And he had this great personality. Like, honestly, he was funny as shit. And what this is, so with this ruler has a slice in it every ½ an inch. So it makes it really super, super handy. So what it wants us to do is now cut the fabric into 2½ inch strips. Now, if you wanted to, you could buy a long quarter. You could just get a long quarter from the quilt store. But if you're collecting fat quarters and you want to do like we do, the 6 for 25 or the 6 for 28, this just makes it easier. It's easier for you to store. So you lay it on here. You cut at your 0 so you have a straight line. And I'm cutting at 2½ and 5. And 7½ you're making sure to hold the ruler down firmly. And 10. And 12½ and 15. And I might just get a 17½ out of there. So I'm going to put my ruler away. And freaking epic, right? You are not lifting your ruler. It's bloody awesome. Okay. Get rid of my scraps in the scrap bag. Okay, so I am all ready here. We're gonna, if you know how to make binding, you don't need me to show you anything else. If you don't know what I'm gonna do, we can do that now. Okay. So it asks us to make 52 inches in binding. So we're going to take this, and this is why it might be easier if you had a long quarter. So that's entirely up to you. So I take this and I lay it on here. Now, I'll be quite honest with you. I eyeball it. I've made binding so many times, actually, I don't actually lay it as exact. I lay it like this because then I find it easier to find where I'm shooting for. What I am actually shooting for is I'm going to start here and I'm going to sew all the way over to here where these two come and meet here at a right angle. All right. So I'm going to make sure my machine is back to my 2½ and 2.5 inch width. And I've got, oh, balls. I've got whatever color thread in that I need to use. I'm accustomed to my needle threader. I feel a little like Henry Higgins. Okay, not everybody will get that, but okay. And so we're going to make our binding. And what I like to do when I go to make my binding is I like to just drop my needle down so I know where it's going to nestle. And I'm going to point. You can see my needle is right there, and I've got it nestled right in the right degree, right in the 90-degree angle there. And then I'm going to drop my foot and like I said, oh, there's a thread in the way and that's annoying, but I'm just gonna, because when you have done it 1,072,000 times, you can just eyeball it. However, there are lots of neat things out there for making that line. And one of them is that seam tape. You can use that seam tape to do this as well. All right, so you're going to keep doing this. So what happens is now that we have sewn all of these pieces together with this particular angle, we bring her over here and we press. We don't need that tool anymore. I don't think the iron was particularly hot. I'm going to press it from both sides. You can see we've got a nice straight line going. Okay, and here's where the quilt pleats come in, and here's where I dispute the quilt pleats. And I will tell you, some people take this over to their cutting table and cut it. When you're making binding and you keep going along, and I bind quilts professionally for people myself, I do not do that. I don't have the time, and I really don't have the need. I give this a little trim, and I will just do a nice easy cut with my scissors right here like so. And I'm just trimming it off. All right. There's no need. You don't even have to worry about this little guy because he's folded in. It doesn't matter. Because what we're going to do now, and we have to pretend that we've gone along and done the 52 inches because you don't want to see me do that. Now, again, this is a weird thing, but it is right sides together. And it's wrong sides together. With your right sides facing out, which again feels unnatural because we do everything wrong sides together. Or we do everything right sides. Gee, purrs, honestly. Feed me. Most things we do, we're always focused on putting our right sides together with the wrong sides facing out so our seams are on the inside. In this particular case, this is going to be our finished product, so this is why we're doing this. So you're folding it like so. Okay. And you're going to go along the length of this. And again, if you continue to, have your ironing board free, don't let me set the wrong example here. You're going to move along and you're going to use your hand to do it. It's a mindless task, an absolutely mindless task. Okay. And then you're going to have 52 inches when you're done. Don't worry about it. 52 inches. Okay. And we're going to take, I've lost track of where my finished pieces are. Here we go. And our instructions tell us to do that and have it all ready. And then we're going to cut off 8 inches of binding. Okay. So we're going to come over here and we'll cut off 8 inches of binding. Why does she want to cut off 8 inches of binding? Well, and I'm going to use my ruler because it's... There we go. I'm cutting off 8 inches of binding. Here's my instructions. And I will tell you, it's been years since I've made these. So again, you guys have got me all in my sewing room, which is pretty cool. And we're going to top stitch it 8 inches from the edge of the bind. We're going to put it on here like so. Stitch in place. It's so funny that, okay, here we go. And we're going to put it on here. I actually stitch it in 1/4 inch. And then it's going to get folded around to the back. But the reason they're saying 1/8 inch, or the reason we say 1/8 inch, is simply because it is a thicker, what we're sewing around. Normally with a quilt, you're sewing through 1 layer of bat, not 2. So what you want to make sure is you're going to be doing this on the small piece. Because this is, I'm going to get a finished example here. This is what we're doing right here. you're going to be sewing this on right here. Okay. So we're sewing table here. And hang on, let's bring this up. And we're going to bring our stitch right across. Okay, so mine sets at that 1/4 of an inch, and that's as far as I can go for to use the side of my foot. So what I tend to do is I tend to use, with my walking foot, I tend to use this in here. This is not an exact thing at this point, so I'm going to just sew along. There we go. Now, what we're going to do yeah, and actually, I forgot how much I love this pattern. It actually gives you some tips on if you want, you can sew rickrack on and that sort of thing. So you're going to bring this around to the front, and we're going to stitch it down. Okay. You can. Hang on, I just want to check something. Okay. All right, so we can stitch this down now. And you know what? If you want a pin, the other thing that would be good to use right now would be these puppies, because we're working with heavier fabric, and I find that pinning, I love doing it this way, just pressing right down on the table. And you don't want it to go off, you want it to make it even, so this way it gives you the opportunity to do that. Right? And then you can stitch, because this is going to be hidden, right? So you don't have to worry. So I'm gonna bring my needle up so I can see what the hell I'm doing. And I'm gonna drop that like that and bring my needle all the way over and then shift it just a little bit. There we go. I'm going to use that foot in there. There we go. We got ourselves a nice little bound bits. All right. So now we have this to go on here. And the other thing you're going to want to do, and it does tell you to do that, is to cut off 6 inches for your loop. The other thing you can use is a piece of rickrack or a piece of ribbon. I'm sure if you've got some interesting trims or whatever. In this particular case, I'm probably just going to use the fabric. I don't have anything extra. I think what would be really, really, really cool is if you cut your piece off for the loop. You can see that there we've got our piece here. It tells you to use a 6-inch piece and cut it off. What's nice is that the pattern will just tell you to fold it. But if you give it a nice little top stitch, again, it's that professional finish, right? That makes it, I don't know. It just changes the look. So again, you can use rickrack for this, ribbon, or you can use these. I think with this particular one, I'll cut my loop, and it does tell you, you can get it, you want to just baste it in there so it's ready to go when we sew our binding around the whole piece. But if you were to then pop it on here and secure it so that it stays up like this with a button with this fabric, would look totally cool. So anyway, so we're going to, I'm not going to keep going on this, because now